Hey, what's up, amigos? Long time no talk. I hope all is well. Welcome to the channel. We're going to try to make regular content, value add. I'm going to start with things, in my opinion, that I find to be a bit difficult, that takes a while to learn and understand, which I think is the second step to dilution. So, we're going to talk about CVNA, and the concept behind it is know the dilution, but you want to know the storyline. And some people refer to it as agenda. We're going to kind of walk over that. That's what the video is all about. I have a good feeling that a lot of the guys that have watched the other channel, they would like you will like it basically. So click subscribe. I think it's value add to you, or if it benefits you. And if there's anything in specific you guys want to see, let us know. So I made some notes. CVNA, what the idea is, and I'll quickly share it because there's no point in going over. The first step, this is a good play. It's a lucrative play. It's super liquid, and it's it's a very neat edge because regardless of whatever I think or anybody thinks, whenever you have dilution in play, the stock is gonna dump. So it can kind of go heavy on it. But dilution is not always a bad thing. An example is Tesla when they diluted when it was at 300 or 420 or at 320 something. They got a convertible offer, and that helped them. Basically, the ROI on dilution was strong, that people were like, okay, now they're not going to go bankrupt. They have money. It's going to go higher, blah, blah, blah. So you have to, dilution by itself is not enough. So taking a step back, how does this work? So the first thing that you would ask is there a fundamental structure or a flaw in it? In CVNA, what they did is uh, the company pushed forward their debt. So they had a big debt, and Short Bear talked about it. He posted it on Twitter. I should have gotten the picture of it, but if you guys want to go back, you guys should follow him. He's a super hard worker and a really good trader. But the company had a lot of debt, and the debt got reduced, but the interest rate went higher. So the interest rate was at 8%, and now it went to like 13.5, 15%. What that did is, yes, the debt went lower, but the cost on the cost of debt went much higher. So net, it was a negative, but it looks good to the visual eye that, hey, look, the debt got reduced. So there is a fundamental issue there. That, in combination with that, the fact that they announced $1 billion in ATM that they're going to dump, uh, is what kind of gives you a really neat edge. And so that I'm trying to think the next steps of what's the best way to explain it. The closest example that comes to mind, first off, $1 billion ATM, they said it's going to be 35 million shares. It could have been more, but they said 35 million shares. Usually, as a market maker, you're dumping shares and things like that. Often you are 10% of the volume. So this play, if they were to have dumped it, the whole 1 billion, it would have taken about 350 millions of volume. So the one thing to realize is, was there a fundamental structure flaw? Yes. And that was debt. Was there an ATM dilution, and is it big enough compared to the market? Not just market cap, but also like the daily volume. Yes, it would have taken about 350 million shares. Even though it's 35 mil, the reason why I'm multiplying it by 10 is because usually they're 1/10 of the volume. It can't be the entire volume, else we would tank the stock. So yes, and is the stock extended? So the stock has gone up 1,500%. It went from like 350 to $60, 58, whatever that was, 1,500 plus. Uh, so the dilution wise, we know there's one bill. Understanding the capital structure and the picture of the company, in my opinion, has not done anything substantial to have increased the valuation if it did. And so it's gone up 15%. There's a structural issue where it's a bit deceiving, where they're like the debt's reduced, but they were having cash flow problems. They were going to go bankrupt. But now that cash burn massively increased. And third element is the ATM dilution. So it's smart for the shareholders, but it sucks for the retail. So it makes a really, really good trade. The other reason why what I forgot about here, the short interest. So if we go on a short interest basis, everybody would CVNA, all the platforms say that the short interest is about 50% or so, but that is not the case. If we look at Finviz and multiple other sites, you can see the short flow right now it's 41% and share outstanding is 106. The reason why that's not accurate is because there's Class B. And I'll show you how you guys can check that out. You just go to CVNA. You see, log into the first one. Right at the bottom, you could see that Class A is 106, Class B is 83 mil almost. Less. So people thought it could be short squeeze, blah, 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 but the short interest is probably closer to like 20%. So we could argue, well, this is owned by Garcia family relative and they may not be used, etc., but it'd still be used to lend out shares to short. Okay, so then the biggest part, so we have an agenda. We have whoever, even if the company was really, really good, if somebody's dumping enough shares that it's going to take like 7 days or 2 weeks to dump, stock is going to go down, even if its evaluation is good. The only time it doesn't, which is very rare, is if the institution is buying at that same price. And actually, most institutions, what they do is they sell. They sell knowing that, hey, the dilution is happening, so they could buy lower. So that's the best part, need edge. And now we go back to the terms of like, how does it work? What do we play? The closest thing that I recall off memory is when Elon mentioned that he's going to sell 1 billion shares, $10 billion worth of Tesla stock. I don't know what the exact date was. You guys can look it up, correct? But I'm pretty sure that it put a lot of selling pressure on it. I'm just guessing this, but this is from my experience. What happens is I'm just looking at the chart. I don't know when exactly that happened, but the one commonality aspect is when somebody is assigned to dump 10 billion worth of shares or to dump 1 billion, their job is to create liquidity. So they will always do something where they will like take out a stop before they dump. So I may be wrong here, but like if the high here, as we could see, is 215.50, this one went to 217, 218, and then it dumps all day. They take out a stop and they go. Same thing here, pushes up and then just dumps. And another example is SPCE. So the job of a market maker is not necessarily to dump. That's one of their job. The other part is actually create liquidity, whether they have to squeeze and go longer and then build a short. Because if something is very obvious, a lot of people are going to do it. As so that's what I anticipated would happen in Tesla. And also shout out to Elwood. He's a really good trader. He's just come on Twitter recently, pointed out the ATM when in the 8K. So here's some screenshot with thought process. This was on the 19th. Yeah, Shortbird mentioned that is basically the risk is being put onto shareholders, and you could see his thought process. It was correct. Like I had very similar, same thought process. And then I think this was in the 19th or 20th in the morning, where I basically said that they'll probably do a liquidity event. They'll break out, and then they will just start dumping, because that's the only way to go about it. Else everybody else would just jump with it. So when things are aligned, you put them all together and you work with it. And as you can see, this is on the chart. So the high here was 56.92, and then this went up to 57.19. This is very consistent. You can see is here, and then it would just dump. So the other, and you can see this the same thing happen in SPCE. I'm surprised it's been 12 minutes. So the other thing I want to talk about, without taking too much time, is the ATM. So I think I may have been wrong here, but my anticipation process was they were going to dump the full 1 billion. They came out with a PR saying that we've dumped 235. We're not really going to dump the other one unless it's blah blah blah. But then that's why it started bouncing up here. Or maybe they're going to put another leg higher and then dump the rest. Opportunistic, I'm sure. But nevertheless, that's why it went higher. So a lot of shorts are stuck. In my opinion, if it holds up 556, then it's trouble. I'm my thought process after I heard that, I was like, well, you shouldn't really get involved unless it gets above 50, reject, and then it holds below 49. So that was CVNA. I think the takeaway here is dilution by itself is not enough. You have to understand the storyline. You have to find if the company there's a flaw in it, like RDBX, which was a vending machine for video. So the company has to be flaw. It has to be dilution, and it has to be extended as well. It's like these are all small little bonuses that are on top. And without going off topic hardcore, I didn't mention this, but in my opinion, they said they were gonna dump. It's gonna be about 35 million shares, and that's what I think the market maker guesstimated that hey, we can dump the whole 1 billion, and we'll make sure that it's not lower than 28, 27. So I was targeting $30, and that was one of the reasons why. It doesn't mean if it goes to 20 that I can't dump the ATM anymore. It just means they anticipated that it's going to be 35 mil. Even though out in the article I know it says that it's either one or the other maximum. I think they could still. even if the stock is at 20. This gave me a profit target. That's what the was. And if the thesis is invalid, don't fight it. You know, thesis, they could still lie. They could make a new high, and as they wrote in their PR, dump the rest of the ATM would be opportunistic. Opportunistic. Make a new high, and oh, this is the opportunity. We have liquidity. Dump. It doesn't. So just keep on key levels. So watch it if it goes below 49 or if above 56, 57. If it's above 55, don't even fight it. If it gaps up into like 58, 59, 60, something like that, and then you see having it's taped, I would look short. So I hope the video was useful. If you made it this far, that means you enjoyed it. On top of enjoying it, please do write in a comment below what you would like to see more videos on. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and potentially stay tuned. If enough people like this, I may put another one out for another company that we did with Dilution Tracker. He pointed it out in Michael Goody. Those are super OGs, super smart guys. The company was going bankrupt, so it's the opposite aspect. Click subscribe, thumbs up. Appreciate you guys.